I've already put out a couple videos about the Gamesir G4 Pro. In the first video I unboxed it and played games on my PC and Android phone. In another video I played a smorgasbord of emulated games on my phone ranging from classic Nintendo to PlayStation games. I've been using it more the past few weeks and I'm ready to put together my final thoughts on the best cross-platform controller I've used yet. First and foremost, it begs the question, is it as good as the Xbox One controller? It's shaped like it after all, and is designed to evoke the same grip, button location, and ease of use as the Golden Par peripheral. The answer to that question is easy. No! It's not as good as the Xbox One controller, but here's the kicker, it might not have to be. Let's go through each set of round protrusions that can be depressed to make an input to an external device. In layman's terms, that means we're going to take a look at each set of buttons one by one. Starting with the triggers, they're very sensitive, and not always in a good way. While playing Rocket League, I found myself inadvertently braking a little too often because it's so easy to press down the triggers that sometimes I didn't realize I was doing it until bad things started to happen. Also, they do make a bit of a creaking noise when pressed down. This raises questions about their longevity. On the plus side, they're very comfortable to use and are placed in just the right spot. The next set of buttons might be the most controversial part of my review, and that has to do with the way I hold the controller. I don't know about you, but I always put my index fingers on the triggers and extend them back to use the bumpers. Naturally, this depends on the game, but this is how I end up using the controller in most cases. In this usage case, the bumpers are more stubborn to push down. You absolutely have to depress them near the center of the button, and firmly so, otherwise they're just not reliable. As such, it requires more precision when stretching the index finger to use the bumpers. Fortunately for those who always cover both the bumpers and the triggers with your index and middle fingers, this won't be much of an issue. Also worth noting, even after 2 weeks, the right bumper has become noticeably worn and now requires more force to actuate. Not good for games that demand more from these particular buttons. When using this controller with PC games or a tablet on a stand, it's absolutely necessary to lift the center grip, even if it's to hold nothing but your dignity. Otherwise, the center hump gets in the way of what's traditionally start, select, and even the D-pad. At least you get access to a turbo and nifty screen cap button while it's up, almost as though they did the annoying hump thing on purpose. Things that make you go, The magnetically swappable A-B-X-Y buttons are the centerpiece on the thing. Sure, only A is swappable with B and X with Y, but they feel great. This is the one thing that the G4 Pro does better than the Xbox controller. They're oh so slightly raised, have a solid, firm press, and don't stick down too easily. Microsoft's offering feels spongy in comparison. Plus, on all 3 of the Xbox One controllers I've used, either the A button or the D-pad has become worn and, quite frankly, only 90% reliable. Granted, I've dropped them a few times, that might have something to do with it. Still, I'm not going to drop my G4 Pro to see if the same thing happens to it. Forget about it. I want to cover the D-pad next. It feels great. The action is firm, gives good solid feedback, and is deadly accurate. It's the best D-pad with a circular base I've used so far. Rolling the D-pad does feel mushy compared to the Xbox One, where you can feel all 8 inputs give feedback under your thumb as you rotate it. It's really hard to get right, but overall, the G4 Pro comes close enough to get my stamp of approval. Now to cover the analog sticks. Ill-configured mushroom caps usually feel overeager to return to dead center and almost try to drag your thumb back to their natural resting position. These sticks aren't mushy and don't fight back. The position and feel is dead-on accurate. The dead zone, on the other hand, could use a little bit more fine-tuning. When you're in actual gameplay, it's not a noticeable difference, and there are bigger deal breakers with the G4 Pro than the dead zone. L3 and R3 feel fine. In fact, the X-Bone feels a little too stubborn and the G4 seems to get it closer to perfect. Obviously, you don't want them to press down too easily. They also feel sufficiently clicky, but it's hard to tell if I prefer the Xbox One controller just because I'm used to how it sounds, and the G4 makes a noise that's too different. I'll just call it a toss-up. The rumble function on the G4 just feels more present than the Xbox One. I think it comes down to the fact that the G4 feels like a more solid piece overall and the whole controller vibrates, whereas you can definitely feel where the motor is on the Xbox One controller, and it has that signature treble tone that you can hear when the volume is low enough. The G4 Pro emits a muted note and just plain shakes a little more. Finally, the textured grip on China's finest example feels better, I suppose. It's meant to be more comfortable and slick-proof for those with clammy hands, but I don't have clammy hands, so I can't speak to how well it works. It doesn't feel cheap though, and it complements the extra weight of the overall package very well. I just pick up the Xbox One controller and I don't feel like it's missing, you know? Oh, and there's gyro support, which I guess is there by necessity because Switch and Android and whatever, I don't care. In conclusion, is it worth buying and using the Gamesir G4 Pro? Definitely yes, if you play anything with a controller on your Android phone. The battery life hasn't let me down on a full charge yet, and it feels enough like an Xbox controller to make playing games fun and enjoyable where the controller doesn't feel like it's getting in your way all that much. I don't know what it's like compared to your favorite Switch controller. If you prefer your favorite Switch controller over the Xbox One, then I suppose you could light your Switch on fire because it's dumb. And if all you play is PC games with your Xbox controller, then you're probably not even watching this video and don't care, so I won't address you. Personally, I really like having one for my phone. The center grip is dead easy to use. I do, however, wish that the bottom platform wasn't a separate piece. That being said, I don't know how I'd do it better myself, so I can't dock any points for it. I'm just glad that it's there and that it is the way it is. This has been a full review of the Gamesir G4 Pro controller here on the Game Train. If you liked the video, that's great. I'm good with your kudos. You don't have to click the like button if you don't want to. I know, it's so much work. And to subscribe. You mean I have to click something else? Good lord, the nerve. In any case, thanks for watching, and you guys, have a good night.